What's up YouTube? Jeff back again, and today video for you Pixel fans out there, although it's not all good news. So first of all, I've been using the Pixel 6 Pro now since it released. I actually got it a couple months early from Google in October. This is my Bellroy case. I made a video on this if anyone's interested. I always like to answer that question because people always want to know what case I'm using. And before we get into the video too deeply, this wallpaper right here is from Backdrops. So if you want this wallpaper, head over to the Backdrops app. It's called Harmonious. You can download it. I'll drop some links down there in case people want to check those out. So if you've been following the tech news, if you're a huge tech aficionado or Android aficionado like myself, you probably have already heard about this, but I kind of want to break it down for people who don't follow the tech news that completely, because some of you may not have heard it all. Google was embroiled in a long lawsuit battle over some of the patents that Sonos owns about smart audio and smart audio device pairing with group volume controls, lots of different patents, and it's been going on for years. The upshot is, recently, Google basically lost in court to Sonos with the International Trade Court, which actually has some pretty big ramifications potentially for Pixel devices, Nest audio devices, basically anything that Google makes in terms of smart products that use volume controls. So the original story, there's lots of stories on this, but the original one was broke by the New York Times. So I'll just kind of talk about a little bit about what this means and then break it down a little bit further. The initial story is basically that Google can now, after 60 days, it's not immediate, there's some time for them to correct some of the issues. They won't be allowed to import smart speakers, video streaming devices like Chromecast, and certain Chromebooks and phones. And that does include Pixel phones. So this broke on January 6th. And of course, it includes all their Nest audio devices as well. So like I said, the import ban goes into effect 60 days from when the ruling was brought down. It's also subject to review by President Biden, who could decide to take executive action and actually overrule this so that then the import ban doesn't go into effect anyway. So if Google is subject to the import ban, it would mean that you wouldn't be able to get any Pixels anymore. Once the current stock dries up, Google would no longer be able to import these because some of the things used in those devices infringe on patents from Sonos. So there's a couple of things basically that can happen here, right? There's a lot of legalese and everything, but just to cut through it, basically you can look through all the other stories that other outlets have posted, and there's been a lot of outlets that have posted about this story. But if you look through all of it, it basically comes down to this. Google has a couple of options. They can either start removing features from their devices, and if you read some of the stories, like this one from The Verge, you'll know that after a recent update, your Google speakers, Nest audio speakers, all those things are actually getting worse because they're removing the group volume controls from those devices. So like if you have a group of Nest audio speakers in your house, you're going to lose the ability to control those using group volume controls because that's one of the Sonos patents. So Google could also do the same thing with Pixel phones, which means they could remove a lot of these features that infringe on Sonos patents from the Pixel devices as well to allow themselves to avoid that import ban within the 60 days. And then, of course, you know, your Pixel devices would be fine. You'd still be able to buy one. There'd be fresh stock coming into the US. That's one thing they could do, right? They could do that. That's obviously not great for the consumer, and I think that honestly sucks really bad for people who bought a Pixel device. Obviously, Google sent me one, but I'm brutally honest with my opinion. I think that sucks for anyone who paid $900 plus for a Pixel 6 Pro, or even $600 for a Pixel 6, to lose all those features. You know, even if they're maybe not a feature you use, it still sucks to lose features because Google lost the lawsuit. So they could do that. Hopefully they won't go that route, or eventually they'll add those features back by doing what I think is the right thing to do personally, even though Google is not known to do this very often. That is to pay royalties to Sonos to basically license the technologies and the patents that they misappropriated so far. So of course they could do that, and then, you know, all of your group casting volumes should return to Nest Audio. There wouldn't be any problems with your Pixel phones or anything like that. That would probably be the nicest thing to do, which keeps Pixel phones in the US, doesn't lose features for consumers, and then of course also Sonos gets their due for their patents. The other thing that could happen, the third option, which perhaps would be the most advantageous to Google, is that they don't pay Sonos these royalties, and you know, maybe they don't have to remove features if president steps in with an executive order and kind of blocks this trade commission ruling. But that's probably not likely to happen because Biden's administration, again, I'm not a lawyer or a political analyst, but his Biden administration is kind of anti, big tech. So it seems like he probably wouldn't issue an executive order to get in the middle of these trade issues. So the short answer is the Pixel 6 and Pixel 6 Pro are not banned from the US right now. But if within 60 days, Google does not remove some of those features or one of those other two options basically occur, either the president steps in or they decide to work out an agreement with Sonos, right? And there's also another interesting bit to this. Sonos and Google are tied up in another lawsuit, which is a countersuit where Google sued Sonos, right? Sonos and Google are actually working together for a while. And so Google countersued Sonos once they sued them. And that lawsuit is still tied up in a North Californian court. So if you actually search Sonos Google countersuit, you can actually see and find out that there's another suit in the progress in a North California court where Google could technically win there. And if Google were to win there, then basically they would have to work out some kind of agreement to cross-license the technologies. But right now, Sonos is definitely in the driver's seat. So let me know what you guys think about this. Obviously not great news if you're a Pixel fan. If you already have one, it doesn't matter. If the ban goes into effect and you have one, the resale value of your Pixel 6 Pro would probably go up a lot. I don't really see the ban going into effect because Google's probably going to avoid that somehow. You guys want to follow me, you can follow me on Twitter below. I'll drop the link. If you want to like, comment, subscribe, I'll make future content like this. I appreciate you guys checking out the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks a lot for watching.